In the Inca city of Cusco, this is a very common way that the Inca would build a wall. They would shape the stone and put the stones together, and then they would put adobe mud in between as a mortar. Later, the Spanish arrived, and the Spanish would mix straw and adobe mud, and they would make walls like this, which then they would paint. On the other hand, we have that. And this is what is ascribed to the Inca. However, how in the course of 300 years do you go from this kind of building to that? Or from that kind of building to this kind? It seems the most logical thing that happened was that this wall existed possibly thousands of years before the Inca existed, and they inherited this. And that is what we see today. This is the Inca Roca wall in Cusco. It's not simply a complex construction, it's symbolic. And our friend here is going to tell us what it means.
Yeah, it's Puma, the sun. Yeah, come on. They had the Puma, the hair.
This is the head of the puma.
The eyes, the small stone here.
Yeah.
This three stone, neck, the chest, and the leg. 1, 2.
Right.
This is the stomach.
Uh-huh.
Small stone is the sex.
See?
Other leg.
Yeah.
The tail is in three stone. 1, 2, 3.
Right. There's the tail.
The body is for here.
Okay. Good.
This is Puma's.
Okay.
This neck.
Uh-huh.
Is this one.
Okay. Here's the snake
Snake.
pattern, and now,
The big stone in here is the head.
right. Here's the head of the snake.
This is the eyes.
The eye,
This one is the toe.
tongue. Yeah.
This is the stomach.
That's the body going down, and there's the tail. And the condor is arriba.
This leg, 1,
There's one leg of the condor,
2 legs.
and there's the second leg of the
The
condor.
tail is here.
Oh, and the tail of the condor is here. Ah, okay. Yeah, muy bien. Okay, muchas gracias. ¿Cómo se llama?
Jose, my name is Jose.
This is Senior Jose in Cusco. So with this Inca Roca wall, you see the mosaic of green andesite, which makes it up. And some say that it's because of the fact that the stone was shaped that way, that they tried to make it fit as best they could. However, it's more probable that they did this intentionally. This seam is so tight that water doesn't even penetrate it. You can see the stain where the water travels down the join but doesn't penetrate it. In other areas, you do find separation. Not here, but that is probably the result of earthquake damage that forced the stones apart. And another point is, how do you go in the course of 300 years from this megalithic way of building with a stone or stones of this scale, and then again within 300 years previous you have that? How can you have a change in construction style one way or the other, either forwards or backwards, from this style to that? And again, from this way of building a wall, which would be difficult, very, very difficult to do. This is not the work of slaves, this is the work of master masons. But from this to, in the same street, to this. To this amazing polygonal way putting a wall together. Again, for purposes of your amusement, that style, and then that style. The materials are different too, from different sources. And this is an example of Spanish building. This is where the Spanish tore the houses and the palaces of the Inca apart and reconstituted them in order to make their own buildings. So this is an example of how the Spanish built, fast but incredibly sloppy. And in comparison, this is Inca period, probably, with this form of putting a wall together. A good reason why we find the wave action could be because they designed them in order to carry the waves of earthquakes through the building so that the earthquake wouldn't destroy the building. But then on the other side of the street we have this polygonal, which is attributed to the Inca, but more likely this was done by the megalithic builders from several thousand years ago. And again, here we have the so-called Inca way of building something with this amazing level of finesse, which many of us think is much older than the Inca culture, by a lost ancient culture who we can't even name. You compare that to the way the Spanish built their structures. And that shows us that when there was an earthquake, the Spanish walls, because of the mortar, would crumble and collapse, whereas the Inca wall, or so-called Inca wall, wouldn't move because it's so tight-fitting that the whole wall could move as a single unit. And that's why they still stand today.